Welcome to Tokyosaurus. So what's up in Japan? So it wasn't very long ago that My Hero Academia gave us a max hype level of an episode in the fight between Deku and Muscular, and some of us were even sure that that was going to be the peak episode for this season. But obviously for those of us who read the manga, we knew the fight between All Might and All for One was coming up, and this was another clear instance where the anime adaptation enhances the original and is clearly a superior experience over the manga. Every time an episode like this comes up, it makes me doubt whether or not I should stop reading the manga for My Hero Academia just so I can experience these moments for the first time without already knowing what's going to happen. But even with knowing everything that's going to come in this fight, Studio Bones not only managed to animate the fight with stunning visuals, they also probably made one of the most emotionally resonant anime episode of all time. Definitely one of the best episodes of My Hero so far, if not the best. Episode 49 gives us the climax of the fight between All Might and All for One. And the whole build-up starts with All Might's flashbacks to his mentor and teacher, Nana Shimura, who we eventually learn is the person who All Might inherited his signature smile from. As Nana once told All Might, when you have to save someone, they're usually in a scary situation. A true hero saves not only their lives, but also their spirits. So no matter how scary things can get, give them a smile to show that you're okay, because in this world, those who are smiling are the strongest. All Might is recalling the memory of Nana saying all this to him, while he's shaken to the core with anger at himself as All for One continues to break him down, not only physically, but mentally. All for One goes full savage mode when he puts his thumbs against his own cheeks, just to mock Nana in front of All Might. So All for One clearly knew about this trait of hers, and is using it to provoke and possibly break down All Might even more, as All Might just discovers that Tomura Shigaraki is Nana's grandson. So what we see here is All Might being tested to his utmost limits, not only physically, but more importantly in his spirits. He is not the strongest one in this fight at this moment, and he's definitely not smiling anymore. This may be one of the lowest points in All Might's life. All Might, in his deflated form, gathers himself and tells All for One that a hero has a lot to protect and finally puts his smile back on. But in his own mind, we continue to hear All Might echo Nana's teachings one by one. We hear All Might remembering why he fights. We feel All Might recalling his own origins, his reasons to become a hero, and that was, as stated in the very first flashback at the beginning of the episode, All Might wants to make a world where everyone can smile and live together. This fight to All Might was very much a fight with himself, just as much as it was a fight with All for One. And it's really cool to see who I consider to be All Might's All Might. Being able to save All Might's spirit from the situation from just her words proves her own words of just how important it is to save not only someone's life, but also their spirits. At this point, All Might is back to being All Might, at least for his mental state. And with the whole world watching and cheering him on, he performs his last act as the symbol of peace as he finishes the fight with All for One. All Might starts to power up certain parts of his body, just like Deku did, and if you recall the first few episodes when Deku isolated One for All's power in a single part of his body, All Might commented that he never thought about doing that before. And so, to see All Might using One for All in Deku's way, it's cool to see a teacher learning from student kind of moment, and is symbolic of All Might finally passing down the torch to Deku. All the while, All Might whispers to himself, farewell All for One, and then eventually farewell One for All as he uses his last embers of his powers. All for One is defeated and the world cheers. He goes into his full form once more to show the world the symbol of peace, but he is no longer smiling. Is he not smiling because all the emotions he's feeling? Is he no longer smiling because he's now officially finished being the symbol of peace? Or is it because the symbol of peace has broken its illusion? Whatever the reason, the moment was very powerful as it signified the end of an era, and as All Might reverted back to his real skinny self and points to the camera while saying you're next, Deku knows that this message was really for him, and while you know that as maybe he's done with being the world's #1 hero, he is definitely not done with being Deku's teacher or everyone's teacher for that matter. Either way, Deku understands that All Might has finally used everything that was left in him, which really raises the stakes for future fights, as there's no longer an unbeatable trump card that the heroes have on their hands. On one hand, you're happy that All Might was able to win this fight, but on the other hand, you can't help but feel like this was a bittersweet ending for a hero that dedicated his life in becoming an unbending symbol of peace, only to have that illusion shattered on the world stage at the end. To see the most powerful man on the planet being broken almost surgically from his mind to his body, to watching him overcome every obstacle no matter if it was to block a powerful attack at his own expense, or to smartly counter them with his own tricks, all the while watching him deal with his own personal horrors and regrets face to face. You can tell he hasn't really come to terms with everything that's been thrown at him, as he never really gets a smile back even in the end, but at the very least he pulled himself back up by using the teachings of his mentor. He showed you that even as human as he was now, with all the glaring weaknesses that he is now exposed to the world, even so, he will continue to fight with every last ounce of strength that he has left in him. Even without all the strength of All Might, he showed everybody what being All Might truly means. Nana showed him that those who keep smiling are the strongest, as they are able to save not only the lives of others, but also their hearts, while All Might showed us that those who choose to keep fighting, even in the worst of situations, are the strongest and will not only save, but inspire the hearts and souls of everyone around them. We can only wait and see how Deku will take these lessons from his elders and create his own version out of it. The theme of not giving up is pretty popular and cliche in the shonen world, but the way My Hero uses them just feels so sincere that it's really hard to not feel anything for the characters when you're watching them lay out their hearts and souls. I think it's now safe to say My Hero has risen to being the undisputed king of shonen at the moment, and it still feels like we're still at the very beginning of the story. But anyways, I'm really curious as to what you guys were feeling when you were watching All Might's fight against All For One. I left the poll for you guys up there, and definitely let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to thumbs up the video and hit the bell for notifications if you want to be updated with the latest going on in Japan, and I'll see you guys in the next one.